it was, Christmas Day,
Yep.
and it was snowing, and it was slippery, and all of a sudden, all I saw is snow coming up. I was in the front seat next to Dad. Gary was on Mother's lap, and there was snow, coming over the top of the windshield, and I had no idea where we were going. The next thing I know is that we stopped, and then there was a sudden bang, where that train evidently hit us, and I felt a lot of pain in my side and in my foot. And then the car come to a stop, and then there was people, and everybody was around us, and the back door was open, where Ray jumped out of the car, in the back, and then there was Donna, and so then they were going to pull us, the wreckers came to pull a car away from the train, and when they hooked on the front corner, it, I think it was Donna that was on that far side, and I was next to Dad. Dad jumped out, but the steering wheel went in one side of my chest and come out here. I mean, it was still intact, but it was just, crushed inside of me.
Oh.
So when they hooked on that front corner, that would raise that car so that it would just pull. So I would just scream, and Donna in the far corner would scream because it hurt her so bad, because the car was, it had her leg outside the door, and so that would pinch. So they, we screamed loud enough so that the wrecker driver,
stopped.
He released. So we went to the other corner and would hook on it, and it would give me total relief, and Mother by the other door would just scream with Gary. I don't remember Gary, but he had that skull fracture.
Yeah.
And I don't remember him saying or doing anything, but we did assume that we were, as a little kid, I didn't know what was happening, but I knew that hurt bad enough so that, I didn't know how we could stand. I couldn't stand it.
But see, Donna was next to me, and she
Donna
kept
was
saying,
next to you.
"My leg is coming off. My leg is
my
coming
leg
off."
is coming off.
Oh,
I remember
so
that too.
then they took me to Shelby Hospital because I had a cut here.
Yeah. And Marilyn also had an ankle, wasn't it?
She what?
Marilyn had an ankle, I think, that was injured, as well as Donna.
But then.
And when they got me out of the car, when they cut the steering wheel off.
See, I didn't remember what happened to you.
And they pulled the steering wheel out. Then they were going to try to lift me out, and then I was screaming again. And they found out that my foot went through the floor.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was just, there was just nothing good about it. So
you guys must have been freezing by then, because
I don't remember being cold at all. That wasn't even something that occurred to me.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Because my side hurt so bad, and it was just 3 ribs that were caught in that steering wheel and broken.
See, I didn't remember what happened to you.
So that was my deal, and my foot.
So
what happened to your foot?
Actually, I don't think it broke anything. I don't know.
Was it your bad foot?
Yeah. So that's what I remember. But it's pretty vivid.
Oh, I bet.
It's something that I remember, coming up to the tracks, and I remember the snow.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Snow was blowing on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that. And then I kept telling them that my sister's leg was coming off, and they called back
didn't they say that she would always have to wear something with a heel because she couldn't
Yeah,
put
she
her
couldn't.
foot
Well,
down?
that
Her
was-
ligaments were cut.
But that was afterwards when she walked on her toe.
Yeah.
You know, and
She couldn't get her heel down flat on the ground.
So how old were you?
Well, if Gary was on your mother's lap, you had to be.
Well, honey, there was 4 of us in the front seat.
yeah,
And 4 in the
and
back
4
seat.
in the back seat.
yeah.
Now that's back in the day when that was a brand new Chrysler.
Oh,
That sucker was a 1952, so it had to be in 1951 that it happened in December.
so it was a nice big tank, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, Mom was thinking Gary was about 7, because she was 18,
Well, that would make me 9.
9 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can figure it out. Popular song that I remember, and it was playing in the hospital, and I got to, when the shrimp boats are gone and they're safe.
Dancing tonight.
Dancing tonight. And that was a popular song, and that was playing in the hospital when I got there.
And it stuck in your head forever. Huh. Oh.
So that, I remember that. And I asked about Gary. I started asking about everybody because I didn't know. I mean, we were
How long?
all of a sudden, we were jerked out of there and we were just gone. I didn't
Yeah.
know where we went.
Did you go by ambulance?
Ambulance, yeah, they had a number of them. Nobody was in the same ambulance. You were in the ambulance with anybody, were you?
I don't know.
I don't think any one of us were in the ambulance with anybody else.
Oh.
I mean, it was like everybody had their own ambulance.
So how long were you in the hospital then? Or did they just stitch you up and say, yeah, you got broken ribs? It's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and Gary went to Aunt Gertie's.
Right, and so did I.
Oh, did you too? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, both of us went to Andrew.
Okay. And then I was telling them last night, because they were talking about that. You
Yeah,
know,
it was.
Mother and Donna were in the same room,
Oh, were they?
and I went up there, and they wouldn't let me go in. They won't let me see them. And then
Because
one other night, Eleanor could go in there, and I was standing there crying, and I said, "Can't we go see him?" And then I think she let me in, but they were pretty banged up.
so when I was in this room, I didn't.
And you remember that? I mean, Mother had that cross thing on her leg, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
There was two metal bars that went from her ankle, and then they twisted,
yeah,
and they went up to her leg. Up her leg. And I almost think they went. I think there was there another one on the other side too.
could have been.
I almost think that there was, one on
I
one
know
side,
that.
one on the other
I
side.
remember the cross one on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she went later. She went out planted, sitting in a chair
Yeah, I know that.
with that leg.
Well, you can't rub a little thing like that.
Yeah.
Little
It's gotta
thing like
be
that.
going.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
work.
that big of a train.
But Marilyn and I had such a time with Dad. Just unbearable. I mean, he just, we didn't know what to do with him.
There was a report that I heard on the radio that we all died.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Everyone.
No kidding.
And so
it would have probably been a good assumption.
See,
I got that. I got that wrong.
On a train, I think I'm alive.
And I thought, so I wanted to find out where my brother Gary was. That was my sister's. Yeah. that never occurred to me that we were dead. There was so much screaming in that car. These
Did
people
you
were
hear
not
that
dead.
train before it?
No.
I mean, the train
No.
didn't, if he was doing a crossing, wouldn't
Dad
they
said-
have had a whistle or something?
Dad said they never heard a whistle. Nobody heard a whistle.
No, I don't.
I mean, Donna, Raymond, nobody
No.
heard a whistle. On Christmas Day. all days.
And then Rose told me that her dad said we can't open our gifts because
Pardon?
Rose told me that we can't. Her dad said we can't open our gifts because of all Harry's family is hurt.
So they had to suffer too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was an experience. You know, when I think back about the things. That's how it was. And then that time I burnt my hand. I went down to help Raymond wash his car, and there was an old potbelly stove in the packing house. You know, with
Okay.
a stack going up through
Yeah.
the roof. And everybody would wash their car, and it had to be Saturday, because you didn't go to church without a clean car.
Yep.
With a dirty car, no, you had to have a clean
I
car.
believe that tradition still lives on today.
It very well could be. So I went down there, and I never had a lot of patience. I mean, I know that about my, and so Ray looked in there, and I said, yeah, it looks all right. He said, let's get some wood, get it in there. So we threw a little bit of wood, and I went and got some gas. Took the gas and threw it in there, burnt my hand. And Ray looked at it, and the skin is this high.
Oh,
It's just all, you know, on all of my fingers and on my hand up here. It's kind of like this, where I was holding it, but not much on my thumb, a little bit here.
oh.
And I looked at my hand, and Ray says, "We got to get some butter on it."
Oh,
Oh, that's,
Oh.
yeah, that was the
Oh.
old,
That's what you had to do with a burn. Well, with a burn, you had to put butter on it.
oh,
So Ray says,
oh,
"Just a minute,
I
Wendell,
can
get
feel
the
that
door,
one.
and I'll bring you home a minute." And I said, "I'm gonna run home." And so I took off, running for home, and he was at the packing house. When he drove in the driveway, I was in the kitchen getting the butter put on my hand. I mean, he says, "Oh my goodness, you really got here fast." That's how I was hurt. And then they took me in and they wrapped it all up.
wash the butter off.
I don't know what happened.
Oh.
You know, I don't remember after that. They wrapped it all up, and I think it was a couple of days, and I said, "Yeah,
That's fine.
we're done." And it was back.
Oh,
But that was an owie, the
I
kind
remember
of right into my jaw. I said, "Holy cow, Garrett, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, God, yeah." He says, "It kind of glanced off your shoulder, didn't it?" I said, "Wow, did it ever?" And then we laughed, and you know, we were
Those
good.
buds.
We were good. Well, you couldn't do anything about it.
yeah.
If you think about when you think about God saving us from things, whew, I mean,
He had his work cut out for you.
oh man, I tell you, I jumped off a truck one time and hooked a nail on the bottom of my Levi,
Oh,
and it ripped my pants all the way up to my belt.
that's good.
That's
Or you
how-
would have landed on your head.
Yeah, I mean, instead of falling over, it just, and there I was. I said, "Oh, now I gotta go home and tell Mother I ripped my pants." I mean, that was going to be the next hurdle.
That's the Tropicana train. Comes through a couple times a day.
Anyway, interesting things. Okay. When Gary cut his face that time, we went down the hill.
You were sliding?
Oh,
Sled.
yes.
He had a steel runner sled, and he got down to the bottom, and that bugger didn't go on top of the ice. It went right into it with his face.
Oh,
And he was cut up so bad.
oh, I remember.
And so, you
Did
know,
they
and
come over to you?
Yeah.
And so I was alongside of Gary, and I looked at him and I thought, oh my gosh. I mean, it was just blood.
Oh,
And his
yeah.
lip was just cut something
Oh.
terrible. And his nose and on his chin. Kind of hit on a little bit of an angle. And he said to me, he said, hey, Wendell, he says, how bad am I? And I said, oh, Gary, you're not bad at all. It's not a big deal. He says, you're bleeding a little bit, but that's it. I said, but I think we ought to go to Mavis. And Mavis saw him. She said, holy cow!
What happened to you?
Oh my goodness. Call an ambulance.
Call it.
His
The
blood,
guy still breathing.
his bloody
And
guts
Gary
out of
looked
here.
quite surprised. I mean, you get bad cuts. You know, some of your bad cuts don't hurt as bad as those little, like a pin underneath your nail. You say, I think I'm going to die. You know, it hurts so bad. But some of the bad whacks you take, you say, so, anyway,
Oh, my goodness.
that poor Gary, he had the shock of his life. He thought he was okay. Then he found out, oh, great moment, Mavis didn't think so. And that was she was our go-to person. There were so many times we come over
I know.
with so many issues.
And then it was telling them, and he would always come to me with something in his eye.
Gary.
Gary. And he couldn't get. Oh, brother.
Well, you were a nurse. You knew everything.
That's right.
Fix it
And
all.
if we had a cold, you know, if we were sniffles and feeling miserable, we'd go over to Mavis. She'd give us a penicillin shot.
Oh.
Where on
Wow.
earth did she get the penicillin from?
She took it from Shelby Hospital.
I had a
She-
neighbor that gave me penicillin shots too, but it was a prescription that my
Yeah.
parents had to pick up. And the doctor came to our house all the time. I had a lot of upper respiratory infections when I was a kid, and I mean he made house calls, and then he would give me the first penicillin shot, and then this lady who was a nurse came the next 2 days and gave me the next two. She'd
Oh,
boil
wow.
the syringe on the stove first. It was a glass syringe.
Well, with Mavis, she had to have taken it from the hospital because Gary and I, it wasn't a weekly thing, but it getting pretty bad. I mean, we went over there
She had a
a lot.
connection with the pharmacy there.
She just, there you go, buddy.
I don't remember that. I have been on, but
We were so thankful for her.
I know that you
She was
guys
in the
came.
right place.